Hi guys, how are you? I am recording this lecture for you in lieu of one of the classes that I will be missing while I'm out of town. So it should take about 45 minutes and hopefully it's interesting and illuminating for you. This is one of my favorite topics that I cover in this course. I hope you also enjoy it. What I'm going to be talking about today is digital storytelling and the idea of how we can craft stories and frame them in a way that really resonates online. Different types of stories grab our attention when we are on the internet than the types of stories that will grab our attention on TV or just talking to people in day-to-day life. So if you want to follow along with me in the PowerPoint, I have included the file on Canvas, and it's called digital storytelling. It should be in your files section. I'm not able to share my screen with you. I could do that if I were using Zoom, but I don't know if you guys have access to Zoom or how that would work. So just to simplify things, I'm just going to share this video and then let you know as I switch to the next slide. So hopefully that works all right for you. So the first slide is just the title of the PowerPoint. So now on slide 2, I have a grouping of some stories that have been popular in the news in the last couple of years. So we can see the types of stories that grab our attention generally. There was I don't know if you guys remember this or if it just stood out to me more because I lived in Texas, but there were bombs that were put into packages and set on people's doorsteps, and they would open the packages thinking it was just something coming in the mail, and it ended up being a bomb, and a few dozen people were injured. A couple people, I think, actually died in this situation, and it took the police and Texas Rangers and federal agents several weeks to figure out what was happening and who was behind this, and it caused quite a bit of anxiety and tension in Texas while they figured out what was happening. This was a pretty big story in 2018. Another really big story that happened not that long ago was the soccer team that got caught in the cave in Thailand, and that captivated the world's attention. People were on the edges of their seat waiting to see what happened and whether these boys would live. In terms of celebrity stories, according to data collected by people who research these issues, Johnny Depp and his various escapades, his financial troubles, his divorce, returning to work, I think he's in a band. Everything around Johnny Depp has been a really large celebrity story. And then the Supreme Court hearings with Brett Kavanaugh were another really large story that the whole nation was consumed with. Also, Donald Trump's impeachment hearings are one that I guess just wrapped up. I was going to say currently going on, but has just wrapped up. So that's another story that has been a major news story. So you can see these things, they tend to be about prominent people or have some conflict associated with them. There's definitely tension. They might be unusual. So there's some familiar threads that run through these types of stories. Sometimes we get more interested if it happens nearby us or a place that we are familiar with. I was more interested in the Texas story than maybe some people because I know that area. We like things that are immediate and happen either now or pretty recently. And we really are drawn to that idea of conflict, whether it's people fighting or a controversial issue or actual violence. So that stereotypical line you hear of if it bleeds, it leads really does have some legitimacy in news media. So I'm moving on to the third slide here and looking at some major stories that have gotten viral attention recently. And you can see these are quite a bit different than the news stories that we just looked at. So one story is associated with this photo of the cow here. And if you're curious, I link to these stories at each of the images, so you can actually click on the image and see one story behind each of these threads. So this is just a large cow, and people became interested in this story just because somebody took a picture of an unusually large cow. And I think it turned out that the cow was not actually as large as it appeared in the photos, but it really was a pretty big cow. And that's the story. That's all it was wow, that's a big cow. There was a big debate over an audio clip that some people thought sounded like the voice was saying Yanni, and some people thought the voice was saying Laurel, and that became a huge story online for a while. You might remember before that there was a dress photo that was going around. Some people thought the striped dress was, I think, a bluish tint, and other people saw more silver, and that became a big story. The mascot here is the mascot for the Philadelphia Flyers. I forget his name exactly, but he became super popular because he's so creepy looking, and he was sort of instantly hated and loved, almost like a mixed emotions kind of reaction to him. But the internet found him so crazy looking, and people around the world were so frightened by him that fans in Philadelphia almost rallied behind him and loved him more because the rest of the world was aghast at his appearance. So I believe he's quite beloved in Philadelphia now because of the way the rest of the world has reacted to him. And the photo of the building down here on the bottom left is a raccoon that climbed a skyscraper. And the story is it's simply that. It's, for some reason, in the middle of the day, one work day, a raccoon decided to climb a skyscraper. And it's unusual. It's not something most people ever see. And it makes you think, why? What is the raccoon thinking? Why is the raccoon climbing the skyscraper? And you probably would want to watch it to see if he makes it to the top, what happens to him. So there is some tension there, not necessarily conflict, but there is dramatic tension in what's going to happen to the little raccoon. And then another one that went around Thanksgiving time was people suggested you text your mother and ask her how long to microwave a 25-pound turkey, and then people would share the reactions their mother had to the question. And not surprisingly, mothers were freaking out at the question because it's a terrible idea to microwave a turkey. If you don't properly cook a turkey, it's going to make you really sick, same as with any poultry. And also, it's not a good way to cook a turkey. You could explode your microwave. It's bad for all kinds of reasons. Some mothers were just freaking out on their children, and they're just flat out telling them they were stupid, or like the example here, just saying, don't do it because I said so, and just not even tolerating the question. So it was pretty entertaining to see the answers. But as you can see, generally, these are really different answers than what we hear, or different stories than the stories that resonate in mainstream news. So there's something characteristically different about the type of entertainment or the type of information that grabs our attention online. So I'm going to the fourth slide here. Like anything you write, the first thing you want to do when you write a story for an online platform is to define your audience. And we talked about this in class before, but one thing you can do is use Google Analytics or Moz to look up search terms related to your piece and help you refine exactly what you want to write about. So you might analyze it that way. You can also think about exactly who you want to target that way. So doing a little bit of research to help you refine exactly who you're trying to reach out to is going to help you be more successful in gaining traction and getting hits and getting reads to your story. So if you think really specifically about, I'm not just looking for younger people, I'm trying to reach people 20 to 25 who are interested in these things. So we talked earlier in the quarter about demographics and psychographics. Make sure to do both type of analysis. So who are these people in terms of their physical characteristics, the buckets they'd fit into, socioeconomic buckets, their ethnicity, their gender, their age, but also what are their personalities like? What are their interests? What type of psychographic characteristics are important to the people you want to read your story. So moving on to slide 5 here. And then also something that's important on the internet is thinking about the type of story that you want to write. So there's a million different types of story frames, but I've just listed a few really common ones here that might be helpful for you or you might want to think about writing. But also this can help you start thinking about what a story frame is. So a really common one is a listicle, and we talked about BuzzFeed in class a couple of weeks ago. BuzzFeed loves the listicle, right? So 9 things that you remember from your first high school dance, or 11 reasons you should be watching this TV show right now, or something like that. So anything that has a list in it is what we call a listicle. Personal story is something that I like to write a lot of, so you would just write a story about something that happened to you, and you would share a little bit about yourself. So that's, if that works for you and you don't mind being a little vulnerable and a little open about a certain area of your life, those can really do well online, but that's not an easy way to write for everybody, so you think about whether that would work for you. An explainer is a story that gives people information on how to do something. So it could be anything from, how to find parking on Capitol Hill to what's the best concert to go to, or what's the best concert venue in Seattle right now. And a problem solution might be you would define the problem and then you would offer the solution. So maybe a problem is it's hard, students don't have enough money to eat well. So you might offer a solution like, here's some recipes that are affordable and decent and nutritious that you can prepare for $5 or less, something like that. And then an op-ed is also very popular online. So those are great options to try. And like I said before, if any of you want to try to publish the op-ed that you wrote for this class, I've had great success with students getting their op-eds published online in various different publications. And you can certainly publish it on your own website or put it on somewhere like Medium and use different strategies to draw attention to it on your own. And I've had great success using the strategies in this PowerPoint that I'm talking to you about today, drawing attention to my own writing. So I've seen a great increase in the amount of attention I'm able to pull to my own writing after implementing these strategies. Okay, I'm going to move to slide 6 here. Visuals are really important. Even a lackluster, not so great visual is going to add more attention to your story. So I think we've talked before about the infinite scroll. This is something that we all do when we're online, especially if you're looking at a website on Instagram, Twitter, someplace like that on your phone. We all have a tendency to just scroll. And the goal, if you put content online, the goal is to stop the infinite scroll. One of the things that is best at stopping the infinite scroll is an image. And images that have been shown through research, images that have been shown to stop the infinite scroll the best are images with human faces, or images with bright colors, or images that show emotion. So if you can do all three of those, great. But any one of those is going to encourage people to stop at the content that you've provided. And real photos of real people often do better on social media than a photo of a model or a photo that looks like a stock image. So even if you think, gosh, this photo's a little bit blurry, or this person's, I've just taken a photo of a regular person, this isn't a super attractive person, or I'm taking a picture of me and my hair doesn't look great today. I think that works to your benefit on social media. I think people like seeing real people engaged in real life on social media. So don't be afraid to show reality and show humans being human. I think the more we can be human in the images, the more we can be human in our writing, the better it's going to connect with people in social media, certainly. Yeah, and the photo I have here is it's from Paul Ekman, who is the sort of the founding father of research into facial expressions. And these are just the 5 universal, well, there's 6 actually, but these are some of the universal facial expressions, which is why I chose them. But there's someone being sad, happy, angry, scared, and surprised, and disgusted would also be on there if all of the universal facial expressions were there. Okay, so I'm moving on to slide 7. Something surprising is another great way to pull people into your content. When you are writing, if you are trying to get hits, if you're trying to get people to connect with your piece, think about, ask yourself, what is going to get people to forward this piece? Because you don't want to just, if it's really going to go viral, or if it's really going to get people to read it in large numbers, what's going to do that is people not just reading it themselves, but posting it on Facebook, posting it on Twitter, or sending it through email to other people. So we define viral, if you're someone who posts content online, viral is defined not as, 1 million hits or something extravagant like that. Viral is defined as it goes to your friends, it goes to friends of friends, and then it goes to friends of friends of friends. So once you've gone beyond friends of friends and hit the next level, that's when it's gone viral officially. So think about what's going to get people to forward the piece. And often it's something they didn't expect. So there's some twist in there. You set it up like, I tried this terrible, awful diet that was going to ruin my life, and I actually loved it. Or, I've been doing, I've been a great student my whole life, and suddenly this quarter I realized that I do better when I try less hard, or something. There's some kind of surprise is often what pulls people into that next level of, oh, I need to share this. So is there something you can share that people haven't commonly heard of before? Is there something people don't expect? Is there a twist? Those types of turns in the story are often what get people to share the content. So think about, and you don't have to have this, but this can be a good strategy to employ if it works for your piece. Okay, slide 8. One of the most important things to remember is that people read content more slowly online, but also people don't often want to invest a lot of time in something they read on the internet. And a lot of times we're not fully focused when we read online. We might be reading in line at the grocery store while we wait for an elevator. We're often, halfway paying attention. And so my philosophy on this difficulty, this challenge, is make the content fit to the readers. Bring the content to the readers. So I like to make it easy for the content to be skimmable. And so one of the things I will do when I write for something to be put online is bold the parts of the text that are absolutely essential for people to catch in order for them to understand the main message of the story. So I will, maybe the entire story has 500 words, but I might bold the 50 words that they would need to know the essence of what I'm saying. And so if they read those 50 words that were in bold, they would catch the highlights and the main points of my story. And if they took the time to read all 500 words, they would get more depth, they would get some beautiful sentences, there'd be some quotes in there, but they could read, those 50 words that I have bolded and catch the gist and the main points. And then also I'll make sure to break it up and have a lot of subheads that are also bolded, so it's easy for people to stop and start. It's easy for them to catch the main points again. And the subheads, they don't have to be invented category descriptions. They can be actual sentences of your story. And that again makes it easier for people to just skim through the content. So just make it easy for people to work their way through your story, to stop and start if they need to stop and start, and just get through it quickly. And it's not necessarily how we dream about having our content absorbed as creative people, but this is how you get more readers. This is how you get more people brought to your content. And the more they appreciate your content, the more likely they are next time to sit with it and really spend time with it. So this is, I think the trajectory is build an audience, and once you have the audience, then more people are more likely to spend more time with your writing. And you're not writing material that's lower quality, you're just offering nuggets of it that are easier to catch visually. So the stuff that's not bolded is still very high quality, you're just throwing things up that are easier for the eye to catch. Okay, now I'm going to slide 9. Ask yourself if you would share it. If you want other people to share the story, you should be writing something that you also would think was worth sharing. And people share stuff on the internet that curates a sense of identity that they want the world to see, that they want the world to view them as. So they're going to share things that make them seem knowledgeable, that project an identity of themselves to the world. So maybe they want to be healthy, or they want to seem educated, or they want to seem like they care about certain issues. They're really passionate about the environment or a certain political issue, or passionate about helping people or helping animals, and your piece helps them show that part of themselves. They add to their portfolio of who they are. So maybe I would share something about here's a cool writing technique I just read about, or here's a cool new thing about yoga, or here's something really interesting about being a teacher, or something like that. So think about, are there people out there who would share this because it enhances the identity they want to present on the internet? And for op-eds, I think I mentioned this when we talk about op-eds, people are more likely to share those if they strongly agree with it or strongly disagree. So the more your op-ed can present a really strong opinion, the more likely it is to get shared. So think about that question as you write your piece. Your headline, I'm moving to slide 10 here. Your headline is essential because this is, like we talked about with press releases, your headline is when your piece gets shared through Facebook, through Twitter, your headline is going to be the thing that people see. So maybe somebody will make a comment like, this story is great, you should read it, or this writer's crazy, I can't believe they said that. And then underneath whatever comment the person who shares makes is going to be your headline. And then maybe a few lines of text, but definitely your headline will be there. So that is what most people are going to see that lets them determine whether your writing is worth reading. So you really want to make sure it grabs people and pulls them in. A lot of professionals will write 25 headlines for each piece before they decide on the right one. I would say do at least 10 before you publish something online. Write at least 10 headlines and then pick the best one. It helps if it's something really important, like a paid piece or one of your first big pieces for a publication. You might try to pull in other people to brainstorm with you and get their input, or at least ask them about your 2 or 3 best contenders. And you want to use power words. So power words are words that invoke feeling, they're exciting, they're emotional. And I've got a list of some of them here in this little image. So things like danger, disastrous, mistake, fearless, brutal, free, guaranteed. And you can just Google power words online and you can find all kinds of lists. But if you can fit a power word in there, verbs are always good too. It's good to have verbs in any headline. Never use a hashtag. So if you see more current information telling you to use a hashtag, but the reason I say no hashtags is because some online platforms freak out a little bit because of coding if there's a hashtag in a headline. Oh, my dog's coming over. Come on. Look up. Come on. Okay. Sorry. Oh, here he is. He likes to hang out on the couch. Okay. So some platforms that will freak out if you use a hashtag in a headline. So just to avoid, if Facebook used to have that problem, I think they may have changed it, but just on the off chance that some platform is going to have a glitch or technical issue when your story gets forwarded, it's best to avoid a hashtag. And then you want to stay shorter than 49 characters because Facebook, which I believe is the shortest platform or the platform with the shortest limitation, will cut your headline at 49 characters when your story gets forwarded through Facebook. So you might, and that can change. Those things are always shifting. But currently Facebook will cut at 49 characters. And if you need a longer headline, at least be aware of what it's going to look like when it chops off at 49 characters on Facebook. Because you want to think about what is this going to look like when it gets forwarded and then suddenly there's an interruption in the headline and in the phrasing. But definitely think carefully about your headline and make sure it conveys your story the way you want it to be told or the way you want it to be conveyed, and get something powerful and emotional out there. All right, I'm moving on to slide 11. This is my favorite part of this presentation, and this is the part that has been the most helpful for me. When I write something online or for an online audience, I will actually go through this list and find which emotion applies most to my topic once I have the topic and I have the idea in my head. So these come from research. These are emotions that have been found to resonate the most online, and this comes from research from online publications and which stories get the most clicks and the most forwards and the most reads. So these are the emotions that we are most drawn to in online content. So the first one is what an injustice. So when something happens that just seems unfair and outrageous, that gets a lot of attention online. Oh, that sucks and I want to do something about it. So if something just seems terrible and awful and it really gets you activated and makes you want to make a change, that's going to get attention online. This gives me hope for humanity. things that just make you feel warm and fuzzy inside and make you feel good to be a human grab attention online. That can be a tougher one to aim for, but if you have a story that naturally fits that emotion, it can be a really powerful emotional state to angle toward. I need to tell someone about this idea. It's so smart. So this fits again with people wanting to curate their identity online. If people hear about something that is unusual or they hadn't heard of before and it's exciting and new, they want to share it with other people because it's exciting to them and they want other people to know about it. But also by sharing it online, they feel like they have spread the knowledge and it makes them look smart that they're the ones who shared it with other people. So that one can be really successful in getting forwards and shares of your article. Oh my God, I had no idea. So something that is just surprising or off the wall or crazy, right? That fits with that surprise notion that we talked about before. This is my life. People love stories that resonate with them and talk about things that remind them of something they've been through or are similar to emotions they've experienced. So when I first started writing, I often felt like it wasn't valuable to write about experiences that were common to everybody, but that is actually a big part of what we do as writers, is we articulate emotions and experiences that everybody has. And if you're someone who writes personal stories, this is an emotional state that you're going to latch into a lot, is that this is my life. And so that was a big lesson for me as a writer, is realizing, oh no, this is really valuable to do a good job telling a story that resonates with lots of people is a big part of what it is to be a writer. So that's a really powerful one, and that is one that I will angle toward a lot. And then, how interesting. So it was just something that is unusual or grabs people's attention, and it doesn't even have to be surprising or off the wall. Just something that grabs people's attention for whatever reason can be a great emotional or cognitive state to tap into with online content also. And like I said, I will actually, I reference this list all the time, and when I write for online, right, I'll do my pre-writing, I'll do maybe even my first draft, and then look at this list to see which one of these emotional states my current story fits with the best, and make sure that I make tweaks and finesse the story so that it really fits at least one of these emotional states. And I have found a big uptick in the amount of attention I get when I post things online since I have started using these techniques, especially targeting these emotional states. I think it's really been good for my ability to generate attention online. So I think this, and then also making the content skimmable, are the two techniques that really have empowered my writing from this research, but all of it is very helpful, and I hope you find it helpful too. If you did make it through this video, send me a little email and let me know, and I'll make sure you get some extra credit points for doing it. And I appreciate you all watching. I hope you're having a good week, and thank you so much. Feel free to email me with any questions. Other than that, I think that is everything. Okay, thank you guys. Take care.